What is up, everyone? Little Bat here, and today I want to present my World Farming Map Assassin build. I do not have the primary blessing stacked on the accessory with this guy. This is strictly to show what you can do from outdoor farming without having to run the rifts at 200 to get all those up. And he will just absolutely decimate everything from bosses to dungeon runs. You can use the assassinate ability with this build. You can just spam it out and drop enemies and bosses, or you can rely on the knuckle combos to really get those afflictions stacked much faster and do incredible break damage as well. This build took me a little bit of time to really get going because I only had about a dozen of the fist weapons total in my inventory. I kind of relieved myself of most of them because I've been either using the daggers or the pole arms, but going on with the pugilist build that I'm forming up, I decided I would go ahead and take some of this stuff from him and transfer it over to the assassin and show what he can do, especially the way he can get so much of an agility bonus from the Finra summon blessing. Even on the world map, he will absolutely be high up there. I mean, you can hit over 1,000 agility if you want to with him on the world map with this setup. So with that, I'll go ahead and break down the affinities and how I've got it set up for on the world map instead of rifts with this guy. First thing you can see that I'm stacking is the new hunter class up to 600. That way I'm getting that additional break damage based on the agility, and since we are stacking so much agility, like you see I'm at 992, it does quite its work. The 600 Void Knight, that way I have haste because I'm not using Lunatic, so I do want that speed boost, and plus the 250 Void Knight is nice for the MP return during those critical hits. The 400 Death Knight, that way I'm getting that near death damage. The 400 Tyrant, that way every time I use my Assassinate and I get that stack on them, all my hits from that point are going to be critical damage, even if I'm not physically hitting them. I boosted the 400 Knight, that way I'm invincible while my Lightbringer's up, and the 250 Assassin by just putting in a few master points, that way I'm getting that agility stat bonus boost to both the Assassinate and my combo damage from the Knuckles. You can see here I'm using the ribbon, that way I'm using status effects, and like I said, I'm just pushing, agility, near death damage, stealth. I'm not pushing the primary blessings. You can see here the main that I'm stacking is the Fenrir for that agility and some strength. And Odin, you want at least just that one piece of Odin, because the way it's going to work with the Assassinate, even though you're not physically touching them with the combo, it's considered physical damage, and especially with that barrage, you're going to get Odin stacked on them really quick, and it's going to boost that damage while you're spamming Assassinate. You can see here, go through my things, when I'm pushing up the crit damage, the critical break damage, the near death, some Lightbringer, and then the Lightbringer break damage dealt. Assassinate and the knuckle combos. Now you can see I've got improved effect onslaught and MP cost knuckle combos. Those need to go away. Unfortunately, I don't have any knuckle combo damage for my fist weapon. That's where the onslaught's coming from. And I think from another piece of gear, the MP cost knuckles, I think it's on the pants themselves right there. I did not have the damage. It's either the knuckle or assassinate damage, so that just kind of is going on for now, but they will go away. Looking through here through the knuckle combos, that third combo ability enhances the critical bonus. It's really good. The Falcon's Dive you will naturally have in the third slot. Since I'm not pushing Pugilist on this guy, if you want the Raptor's Claw, you're going to need that on your weapon. Or you're going to want that Falcon's Dive on the weapon if you want to set up for the first combo slot. That way you're not having to go into a triple combo. But I like that kind of setup that I've got going right there. For the first slot, I can put in Raptors, get that stack on them really fast of the 20, and move away if I need to, and use that assassinate ability again. By that time, they're going to have the Odin debuff on them, and that 20 stack, especially with that barrage popping off in Invis, is going to do some major damage to bosses. With you being at range, you don't have to worry about being up on them, or you can stay up on them and start busting some really fast, just normal strikes with your knuckles, keeping those stacks going, and just decimate their break and health gauge. Go through my master points, you can see here I'm pushing that strength and agility up. You do want that strength because the way it works is that way when you are fighting normal enemies, you're not worried about having to manually soul burst everything. You're going to be killing their health gauge as well, not just their break gauge. And that's going to make them soul burst without even having to manually do it. That way you can just worry about just running, spamming your ability. They're all going to just chain soul burst once you get done. And you don't have to waste a bunch of time going over there and hitting your circle button or however you've got it set up to do the manual soul burst action and having to worry about going through that animation of soul bursting everything. Now, of course, if I was to take this guy into the Rift, you can transition some things pretty easily since I'm not stacking it. I know some people like to use the Samurai, and you could have that with the Wolf set up, then just have one piece of Samurai gear on there. That way, whenever you're doing your manual combos to bosses, you will also have the parry effect, which means you could stack Alexander if you wanted to on your accessory. But honestly, I kind of just like it with the Tyrant because all I got to do is simply use my Exterminate ability. It's going to put that stack on him right in the beginning without me even having to touch him, and everything from that point is going to be a crit. Of course, I would recommend you could stack up the Shiva on your accessory. That's a really good one because even when you're sitting here spamming the Exterminate ability on these trash mobs, such as these guys, they're also going to get that Shiva debuff on them. It's going to keep them slowed. You could use the Ramu for the bosses. That way when you're doing Raptor Claws, it's the combo ability. You're going to paralyze them, and that's going to help lock them down and just keep those Raptor Claws on the boss. Of course, the Ifrit. That way, if you get the timing right, you're going to get that huge 30% damage boost. It's also going to improve the critical MP recovery and just allow you to stand there and spam, especially if they're locked down with that Ramu going on. It's really going to work out well. And like I was talking about earlier, the way this guy is set up, it's going to allow you to basically, like the smaller human guys, the dragon kick that comes down, it's really good and it does really good damage. The only problem that I found with it is that sometimes when you're fighting human-sized opponents, such as Chaos Advent here or Astos and the Warrior Light, is that you will completely jump over them and the whole combo itself will miss. Well, with this setup, you don't have to worry about that. You can either rely on your Raptor Claws or you can just do like I did there and spam out your Assassinate ability and just take them down that way and save the Dragon Kick for the bigger enemies that you know is going to be a guaranteed hit to get that massive damage going. And like I was saying earlier, converting this build and this style over to the Rift is going to be really easy once you get it up. I will probably do an independent video on that for the 200 plus assassin build that I've got going on. Because with mine, I've got the Tomberry, and he's all the way done. That's going to give me that more strength. It's going to give me the Death Knight, you know, near death damage. I can take that 400 off the gear. It's also going to give me that Breaker 400, which means every time I soul burst something, I'm just going to do even that much more damage. So, and like I said, the Harpy, the Wolf, the Goblin for more agility. You could have the Behemoth for more boss damage, and also it's going to help push those summon blessings where even Odin's going to be doing more damage and everything like that. So he's definitely a lot of fun. I mean, I've loved the Assassin for a long time. I kind of got away from him, unfortunately, but I'm starting to rekindle my love with him, especially since this is the final DLC, getting to go through all these job classes and explore them again and see what they can do now. So much has changed since the base game. There's so many affinities you can throw on now. And there's just so many different command abilities to choose from, the weapons, the combos themselves. It's just been an absolute blast re-exploring a lot of these older classes that I used to play. And that pretty much wraps them up. You know, if you got any questions or if you're trying to get something like this for yourself, you know, or if you see anything that you would, you know, think would be a better match, you know, please let me know in the comments. Like I said, I'm always trying to explore these. There's a lot of classes to go through. It's a lot of farming to do. So I'm always just looking for those little things to help improve it or to, you know, just make things easier for myself or for you, the viewer. So with that, have a good night, and I hope to see you on the next. Thank you.